She wore the ring I made with my own hands, a ring shaped by love, by hours of care, and she pawned it to go drink in Vegas with her friends. No goodbye, no guilt, just a receipt where our future used to be. So I canceled the wedding, walked away from the dream she crushed, and watched as the world she built on lies began to crumble. If you've ever loved someone who treated your heart like spare change, stay with me. This story might just help you heal. My name's Mason. I'm 32, an engineer by trade, woodworker by soul. I've always believed in building things, tables, chairs, quiet spaces, and once, a life with Lily. She's 29, soft-spoken but sharp, the kind of woman who makes Sunday mornings feel like slow music and warm bread. We've been together 5 years, engaged for nearly 2. Folks said we looked solid. The truth is, I believed it too, until recently. I'm not much for diamonds or grand gestures, but I do believe in meaning, so when I proposed, I didn't go to a jeweler. I went to my shop, took out the rose gold, warmed it with care, cut and shaped it with hands that had carved everything from headboards to hummingbirds, set a sapphire in the center. Lily never liked flashy things, always leaned toward the quiet beauty of what felt real. That ring cost me $2,600, 0 cents in parts, but the hours, the love carved into each curve, that was priceless. She cried when I gave it to her, said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever worn, told her family, showed her friends, said it was us in a ring. And for a while, I believed that. We started planning the wedding. I built picture frames for the reception. She picked wildflowers for the bouquet. We talked about colors, guests, and cake flavors. We were building something, or so I thought. What I didn't know was that while I was planning a life, she was planning something else entirely. There's a kind of quiet that slips in when something's gone missing. Not loud like an argument, or sudden like a slammed door. Just the quiet hush that falls over a room when you realize a promise isn't where it used to be. That's what it felt like the first time I noticed Lily wasn't wearing her engagement ring. We were getting ready for dinner, someplace downtown she'd been wanting to try. She stood by the mirror, fixing her hair, gold hoops catching the lamplight, heels tapping on the hardwood. And I don't know why, but my eyes drifted to her left hand. Bare. Just skin where the ring should have been. I didn't say anything right away. I figured maybe she forgot to put it on, she'd been busy that week, juggling work and bridal meetings, or maybe she'd taken it off to wash dishes and just hadn't slipped it back on. Small things like that happen. I told myself not to be the guy who made a big deal out of jewelry. But the next day, it was missing again, and the day after that. By the end of the week, I'd stopped pretending not to notice. Now, to most folks, it might sound silly. It's just a ring. But it wasn't just a ring to me. I built that thing, poured hours into it, bent over my workbench with calloused hands and sore eyes, molding rose gold and setting that deep sapphire in place, like I was anchoring our story to something real. That ring was a piece of my heart carved into metal. And Lily used to love it. She'd run her fingers over the band absent-mindedly while watching TV, show it to strangers in line at the grocery store, and tell folks how I'd made it from scratch like it was a badge of honor. For 2 years, she wore it everywhere, to bed, to brunch, to family barbecues. She once told me it made her feel seen, known. So why wasn't she wearing it now? One evening, we were curled up on the couch, soft jazz humming through the speakers, and I finally asked, "Hey, where's your ring?" I tried to keep my voice light like it was just a passing thought. "Haven't seen it on your hand lately." She hesitated, just for a second. Not long enough for most folks to catch it, but long enough for someone who'd watched her fall asleep for 5 years to feel the shift. Then she said, "Oh, I took it to the jeweler to get it cleaned." I nodded, but something in me folded. Not broken, just bent, like a beam of wood starting to strain. It didn't add up. Lily had never taken that ring to anyone. I'd always been the one who polished it. She'd hand it to me in the kitchen while we waited for the kettle to boil, and I'd buff it clean with a soft cloth while she hummed. But still, I didn't press her. I wanted to believe her. A few more days passed and still no ring. I brought it up again one night as we were cleaning up dinner. "So," I said gently, "any word from the jeweler?" She didn't look up from rinsing the plates. "They said they're backed up. Shouldn't be long." Her voice was even. Too even. I tried to convince myself I was being ridiculous. Maybe the shop was busy, maybe she just wanted it to look extra perfect for the wedding, but the more I tried to reason it out, the more that little ache in my chest bloomed into something heavier. See, it wasn't just about the ring. It was about what it meant, that shared promise, the anchor between us. That tiny circle of metal had become a part of our rhythm, and now, without it, everything felt off. The way she pulled her hand back quicker when I reached for it. How she scrolled through her phone with a half-smile she never explained. How she laughed, but it didn't always reach her eyes anymore. I started noticing other things too. She was quieter around me. Not cold exactly, just distant. Like she was somewhere else in her mind, even when we were in the same room. She started staying late at work more often. Weekend plans turned into solo errands. She stopped asking me about my projects, the new dresser I was building in the garage, things that used to matter to her. One night, I caught myself standing at the bathroom sink, staring into the mirror like a man trying to see what he'd missed. I kept asking myself, was I losing it? Was I just tired? Was I turning a missing ring into some kind of conspiracy? But deep down, I knew. It wasn't just gone. It had been taken off, deliberately. Something had shifted. And once you feel that shift, no amount of pretending brings you back to before. So I did something I don't usually do. I called her best friend, Erin. Not to snoop, not to accuse, just to understand. Erin and I were friendly. She'd always teased me about being too sentimental, but she also knew how much I loved Lily. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, "you haven't seen Lily's ring lately, have you? She said she took it in to be cleaned, but—" Silence. Then Erin cleared her throat. "Mason? She didn't tell you?" That's when my stomach sank. "Tell me what?" A pause. Then, with a careful voice, she said, "I probably shouldn't be the one to say this, but—" She sold it, Mason. A couple of weeks ago. Said she needed quick cash for a trip with the girls. Everything stopped. The air, the sound, the whole damn world just froze around me. Sold it? She sold the ring? My chest felt hollow. I muttered a thank you and hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. Then I sat there for a long while, just staring at the floor, like the boards might open up and explain it to me. It wasn't about the money, it never was. Hell, if she'd needed cash, I'd have given it to her in a heartbeat. No judgment, no questions asked. But to sell the ring, that ring, and not even tell me? That was different, that was a choice. A quiet kind of betrayal that didn't need shouting or slammed doors. Just silence, and lies told with a straight face. I stood up, walked out to the garage and sat at my workbench. The tools were still scattered from the night I'd finished her ring. Dust clung to the corners. The place smelled like cedar and old varnish. And in that quiet room, I let myself feel it. Not anger, not yet, just grief, because something had died, and I hadn't even known it was sick. There's a special kind of silence that follows betrayal, not the kind you hear after a fight or when the dishes stop clattering. No, this one's quieter, heavier, like the air has decided to keep secrets too. I sat at the kitchen table that morning, staring at Lily's empty coffee mug, still warm, lipstick on the rim, and yet somehow she felt 1,000 miles away. She'd packed her things in a small weekend bag, kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't wait up, okay?" Like we were still fine. Like this trip she'd been so vague about wasn't gnawing a hole in my gut. I didn't say much, just nodded. Watched her walk out with the ease of someone who wasn't carrying the weight of what she'd just done. She pawned her ring. The one I made. Like it was just a necklace she got tired of, or a coat that no longer fit right, not something molded by hand and heart, with hours of sanding and polishing and choosing just the right stone. She said she needed the money, that she'd get it back, but that's not what hurt most. What hurt most was how easy it was for her to lie about it. How long she'd gone smiling and laughing with me while the symbol of our whole relationship sat behind a pawn shop counter, waiting for some stranger to put it on layaway. And I couldn't shake the feeling that this trip wasn't what she said it was, so I started looking. It began with small things. Her jewelry tray was still dusted from where the ring had sat. I checked the usual places: nightstand, kitchen windowsill, bathroom drawer. Nothing. Just silence. And that cold ache in my chest. Later that afternoon, I poured myself some black coffee, no sugar, and opened her laptop. I don't normally do that. I believe in privacy, in trust. But that trust had already been worn thin, like a rope frayed by too many storms. The lid opened with a soft click. Her desktop wallpaper was a picture of us, smiling on a hike last fall, her cheeks red from the wind. That memory felt like it belonged to someone else now. I started with her messages. It didn't take long to find the group chat. There they were, Lily, Emma, and Jenny. The holy trio. The ones she said needed some downtime at a cabin upstate. But this wasn't a wellness retreat. It wasn't even about rest. Emma's messages were full of gifs and booze emojis. One said, "Bring something sexy, I already packed the tequila." Another read, I booked us a hot tub suite, Emma's boyfriend's treat. Ginny chimed in. 3 nights of wine, freedom, and forgetting we're responsible adults. Who's in? But what stopped me cold was Emma's next line. Leave the ring at home. No one needs to know you're engaged this weekend. And Lily's reply, a laughing emoji, then, sure, I could use a little freedom. That word again, freedom. Like our life together was a cage. Like I was the weight around her ankle, keeping her from floating off to wherever she thought real life was waiting. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. I closed the laptop and just sat there for a long while, watching the way the light hit the floorboards. Everything looked the same. But nothing felt right anymore. I picked up my phone and scrolled through Instagram. Emma had already posted a photo of the cabin's patio, wine glasses on the table, and a caption that read, Girls just want to have margaritas. Background didn't look rustic, it looked luxurious. This wasn't some budget-friendly weekend in a sleeping bag, it was catered, decorated, expensive. Jenny's story was even worse. Boomerangs of clinking champagne, close-up shots of high heels on hardwood, a full bar stocked like a hotel. The caption? Cabin vibes, and still, no mention of Lily's fiancé, of me. I clicked through faster than I could think, photo after photo of Lily looking like the girl I used to know, only lighter, like she'd already let go. Then came the final gut punch. In the chat, Jenny had written, This is your chance to have fun before settling down, don't let Mason hold you back. And Lily had responded, I won't, trust me. Just 3 words, but they cracked something open. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe an hour, maybe 5. I just know it was the kind of stillness that creeps in when you realize the truth isn't coming like a freight train, it's already hit you. You're just waiting for the dust to settle. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the refrigerator hum and the wind tapping against the windows. Our house didn't feel like home. It felt like a set someone forgot to pack up after filming ended. I thought about how we got here. All the little sacrifices. The date nights we skipped to save money, the takeout we passed up, the couch that sagged a little too much because we agreed we'd wait until after the wedding. I thought about that time she surprised me with a new chisel set for my birthday. Said, You make beautiful things, Mason. I want to see more of them. And now she was making promises to other people, promises to hide me, to act like she wasn't spoken for. I didn't cry. I didn't scream, but something in me hardened. Not into anger. Not yet. Just clarity. It wasn't just a ring she'd pawned, it was the truth. She'd traded it for a weekend she'd forget in a few selfies. And she thought I'd never know. But I did. And I knew now I couldn't unsee any of it. I couldn't unhear freedom. I couldn't unfeel the ache in my chest when I read her words. I won't. Trust me. I knew a storm was coming, and for once, I didn't plan on sheltering her from it. After Lily left, the house felt too still. Not peaceful, just empty, the kind of quiet that doesn't soothe, it stings. Her shoes by the door, the faint trace of her perfume in the hall, the dent in the couch where she last sat, they all mocked me in silence. She was gone, but the truth had stayed, and I knew what I had to do. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad, canceling everything. The venue we loved, the florist who'd held our date without a deposit, the bakery that made us taste test 7 kinds of lemon cake. I called the caterer, told them to scrap the menu. The woman on the phone said, I'm sorry, sir, like I was calling in a death. In a way I was. I messaged Emma's boyfriend, Mark, told him he might want to ask Emma about their quiet girls' weekend. Sent him screenshots of the group chat, the part where they planned to leave the rings behind and have fun before locking it down. No commentary, just facts. Mark replied, Wait, what? Are you serious? She said it was just a cabin getaway. An hour later, he texted again. This is chaos. I confronted her. She said Lily came up with the no rings idea. I packed my stuff, I'm done. Jenny's boyfriend, Jake, said something similar. She made it sound harmless. Now she's saying it was all a joke. I'm not buying it. I sat with that for a while, let it settle like dust after a storm, then I got the message I knew was coming. Lily, what's going on? Emma said you texted Mark. Why would you do that? Me. Because we need to talk. Face to face. Lily, I can't just leave, Mason. Why are you doing this? Me. If you don't come home, don't expect me to be here when you get back. I turned off my phone. Took a walk. The night was cool, stars hiding behind a haze. I passed our favorite diner, the one where we planned the wedding on the back of a napkin. I walked by the church we'd picked for the ceremony. Then I walked past it. By the time she got back the next day, the quiet had shifted. It wasn't empty anymore, it was resolute. She slammed the front door behind her. "Mason, are you serious right now?" she snapped, arms crossed. "I can't believe you. Emma and Jenny are furious. Mark's blowing up Emma's phone. Now it's all being blamed on me." I leaned against the counter, calm, unmoved. "Maybe that's because you started the fire." Her eyes narrowed. "So this is how you handle problems? Sticking your nose into everyone else's relationship like some watchdog?" "This isn't about them," I said. "This is about us." "And what's left of it," she rolled her eyes. "God, you're being dramatic. I haven't lied about anything." I didn't raise my voice, just reached into my back pocket and pulled out a printout of the messages. Set them gently on the counter like evidence in a courtroom. "You didn't lie?" I asked. "Then what's this? Leave the ring at home. No one needs to know. I need a little freedom." "That wasn't a lie?" She looked at the paper, then looked away. "Those were jokes, girl talk, nothing serious." "Nothing serious?" I stepped forward, voice still calm. "You pawned the ring I made with my own hands, Lily. You lied about it, then brushed it off like it was a chipped plate. You planned a whole trip where your fiancé didn't exist." "It's my ring," she snapped. "I don't need your permission to do what I want with it." I nodded slowly. "That's exactly what you said. And you know what? You're right." Her expression faltered, just a flicker. "But you don't get to treat our relationship like some thrift store trinket and expect me to just sit quietly in the corner while you find yourself with Emma and a bottle of tequila." She crossed her arms tightly. "You're obsessing over a piece of jewelry." "No," I said, voice low. "I'm holding on to the last piece of honesty we had. That ring meant something. You made it meaningless." She scoffed. "If you think a ring matters more than everything else, maybe you're not ready for marriage." "Maybe I'm not," I said. "At least not with someone who doesn't know the difference between commitment and convenience." The silence that followed was the kind that settles deep, not just in the room, but in your bones. "I canceled the wedding," I added, almost gently. "It's over, Lily." She blinked, stunned. "You what?" "I didn't think I needed your permission," I said, echoing her own words. Her mouth opened, then closed again. No rebuttal, no excuses left. I stepped past her, down the hall, picked up the small duffel I'd packed that morning. Just the essentials. A toothbrush, a few clothes. The signed letter of cancellation from the venue, folded neatly on top. "You don't get to rewrite this story," I said quietly. "Not this time." Then I opened the door, walked into the fading light of late afternoon. A breeze swept past the porch, rustling the bushes we planted last spring. Behind me the door didn't close, she just stood there, watching me leave. No apology, no regret, just the weight of a truth finally spoken out loud, and I, walking towards something quieter, something truer, something mine. The house was quieter after she left. Not empty exactly, just quiet in a way I hadn't felt in months. The kind of quiet that lets you hear yourself think again. That first morning I made coffee in a clean kitchen and stood barefoot on the porch while the sun climbed slow over the neighbor's fence. It felt like the first breath after holding it too long. Lily didn't leave a note, didn't say where she was headed, and I didn't ask. I figured if she didn't want to stay, then whatever came next wasn't meant to include me. And truth be told, I was tired of carrying both of us. The days blurred for a while, work, home, sleep, repeat. I kept to myself. Friends checked in, brought beer, and talked about anything but what had happened. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel like a person again. About a month later, just as the ache had dulled into something bearable, I got a text from her. "We need to talk." I let it sit. Unread at first, then read, but no reply. She'd made her choices. So had I. That weekend, I did something I hadn't planned on. I decided to get the ring back. Not to give it to her. Not to keep it on a shelf like a haunted memory, just to reclaim something that had started with my hands. Something she'd discarded, like spare change. I didn't tell her. Just started visiting pawn shops, small ones first. The kind she might have passed on her way home from work. One guy, an older fellow with thick glasses and a Vietnam hat, asked me, "Did it have any markings?" "Yeah," I said. "Rose gold band, sapphire stone, engraved with a date, April 10th. He disappeared into the back, and when he came out, he held it in his palm like it was something sacred. And to me, I guess it was, not because of what it meant anymore, but because of what it used to be. I stood there for a long second, just looking at it. It was smaller than I remembered. I bought it back. No bargaining, no second thoughts. Then I sold it again, this time on my terms. Used the money to finally buy the lathe I'd been eyeing for over a year. Something just for me. Not for us. Not for some wedding that never happened. Just a man and his tools, building something new. She found out. I don't know how. Maybe word got around, maybe she stopped by the shop and asked questions. Either way, she called. Angry. What the hell, Mason? That was my ring. I didn't yell. Didn't flinch. I just said, I made that ring, Lily, and you pawned it without telling me. If it meant so little to you that you could trade it for a weekend with strangers and excuses, why should you care what I did with it now? She was quiet for a beat. Then the excuses started. I was going to get it back after the trip. But I didn't engage. I just said, goodbye, Lily, and hung up. That was the last time we spoke. Since then, life's been slow but steady. I've been working more, sawdust on my clothes again, the kind that doesn't wash out easily but makes you feel like you've done something worth doing. I built a bookshelf last week, oak, clean lines, solid weight. It's nothing special to most, but it stands firm, and that's more than I can say for what I lost. I've got friends who care, a quiet little rhythm to my days, and when I sit on that porch in the morning, coffee steaming in my hands, I feel, finally, at peace. If you're listening to this and going through something similar, here's what I'll say. Don't wait until you're empty to take back what's yours. Listen when things start to feel off. Trust that voice inside you, even when it whispers. You don't need someone who sees you as a placeholder, you need someone who sees you as home. And sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, not to prove a point, not out of anger, but because you finally remembered you're worth more than being someone's second thought.